Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Minecraft Disney World. Today we're headed back to Epcot and we're going to spend the day in Future World where we're going to be talking about Mission Space, a pretty popular and exciting ride. Now, Mission Space, like many other attractions in both Epcot and in just Walt Disney World in general, wasn't the original ride that was occupied in the pavilion. Before Mission Space, there was a ride called Horizons. It was there from 1983 up until 1999 when it was closed down. It's such a deep and complex ride with like a very rich history, so much so that I think it's worth its own episode for another day. But in any case, for many reasons, it closed down in 1999, and in 2003, on August 15th, Mission Space opened. This was an exciting ride that was meant to simulate what a trip to Mars would be like, and it cost around $100 million. That's the estimate. Sort of like other pavilions at Epcot, Mission Space had the ride within a building, and then there, as most attractions are hosted by companies, these companies in these pavilions had their own VIP lounges, and here was no different. They had something called the Red Planet Room, so employees and VIPs of Hewlett-Packard could go in and be pampered. So it's basically set to be a training simulation for the first manned mission to Mars aboard this fictional ship called the X-2. People have used the plaques on the queue to sort of round it down and find out that the ride supposedly takes place in the year 2036. It is a ride that sort of explores like the new age design of attractions at Disney World. For instance, it's got multiple forms of the ride because it is a centrifuge simulator that recreates G-forces, and so that was actually too much for a lot of people, and as a result they have a version called the green team that doesn't use the centrifuge for people who can't take the intense spinning. It also has a lot of post-queue area or post-show area activities that sort of tie into it. So for instance, there's a mission control with sort of a sit-down element that ties in narratively to the idea of going to Mars, and it's sort of this interesting way of providing entertainment for people who are there not because they want to ride the ride, but maybe because their kids do, or their older siblings or younger siblings. It just provides something for somebody who has to be there who might not be able to ride the ride, which is great. The ride does spin you around enough to simulate, I think it's 2.5 Gs, which is twice over 2.5 the force of gravity on the Earth's surface if you're just standing there. So motion sickness is something you could run into if that's something that you have a problem with. But like I said, there's the green team. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it would replace the ride Horizons, and one thing that Imagineers do that I think is really cool with a lot of attractions is if one attraction replaces the other, they sort of throw little homages into to the original attraction in the new one. So for instance, if you look at the rotating gravity wheel in the queue, which is like the little space station, in the center, you can see the logo for Horizons. You could also see it in front of the cash register at the gift shop at the end of the ride. And then the planter in front of the building, it's in the shape or that Horizons used to be in, mainly because they just didn't remove it when they were building Mission Space. But it's a cool little homage nonetheless. It's a fun ride. I personally think it doesn't fully live up to the history of Horizons. I don't think it's as thought-provoking. That said, it still is a fun ride to go on, and I think because of Soarin's popularity, it is a ride that you don't have to worry about, too long of a line. So it's definitely the sort of ride that you'll probably ride it if you go to Epcot, to be 100% honest, because Epcot is a park that doesn't have an abundance of thrill rides, so chances are you're going to make it on your to-do list if you go. And Gary Sinise is in it, so why wouldn't you go? Because you go on any Gary Sinise is one way to sell me on any sort of attraction. In any case, that's been a look at Mission Space and Future World. It's a cool little ride. Hopefully in another episode I could tackle the history of Horizons, the ride it replaced. which has its own backstory and great history to it. I hope you have a great week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. And hopefully I will see you all here next week for the next episode of Minecraft Disney World. Bye, everyone.